today I've got the Turbosmart dual port blow-off valve.
This little nub right here is going to be aiming on the same side of the connector as that white safety pin right there.
What's going on, Team Lethal fans? It's Joe with Lethal Performance here, and today I've got the Turbosmart dual port blow-off valve that we're going to be installing here on our 2022 Bronco Raptor. Now, as you can see here, I have the entire kit from Turbosmart laid out on the table, as well as an OEM recirculating valve here to show you guys the differences in quality, as well as the differences in the actual kit itself and what you get with the Turbosmart valve. To start off here, I've got the OEM recirculating valve that comes stock on the truck from Ford. Now, the purpose of this valve is to take all of the excess air that is in the charge pipes leading up to the throttle body and take that air once the throttle bodies are closed and reroute it into the intake tract, which takes the air out of the system and therefore limits the damage that could be happening to the turbocharger when you let off the throttle and all that boost has nowhere to go. While the OEM recirculating valve does do its job and it fits the manufacturer's standards, there's always room for improvement. And that's where Turbosmart enters in the mix. With Turbosmart's compact dual port blow-off valve, you're going to be getting the added benefit of having a high quality billet CNC machine piece, as well as one that is a ton stronger than your stock one. It's going to hold boost a whole lot better, especially more boost a whole lot better. And at the end of the day, it's going to be venting some of that air to the atmosphere, which in theory could lower your IAT temps. Turbosmart includes, of course, the blow-off valve in their kit, along with the flange to mount it up, the hardware to mount it up, and then of course 2 O-rings to ensure a proper seal on the flange on the charge pipe. And let's not forget, it includes a Turbosmart sticker, which you can slap on the back of your truck to show off that you're better than everyone else. Now, of course, if you're not looking for more noise and you're just looking to keep it the same exact sound that you've got from the factory, but you want to improve the performance of it, not to worry. Turbosmart's also got you covered there with their Plumb Back system, which operates identically to the OEM valve, except you're going to get a ton better boost holding capability. Not to mention, it's going to be made out of a high quality billet material, just like the dual port is. Now that we know what we're working with here, let's go ahead and move it on to Jared with the install.
Wonderful job on the overview of the Turbosmart blow-off valve. Joe, great job. Now it's time to do the install so we get that psh, psh, psh sound. So let's do it. We're going to do it step by step, show you how it's done. It should only take a few minutes with a couple simple hand tools. So the first step to installing the blow-off valve from Turbosmart will be removing the electric connector from the factory valve. There is a white little safety clip on this side. We're going to pull it towards the front of the engine like that, pinch on the connector, and slide it right off. Using an E5 Torx socket, we're going to loosen up the 3 bolts that hold the factory valve onto the pipe here. I'm going to loosen them up with the actual ratchet and then run them out by hand to make sure I do not drop them down into the engine bay. There we go. All right, and there you have it. Your factory recirculating valve is removed from the vehicle. First thing we're going to be doing is installing the flange onto the actual blow-off valve. You see this piece here is machined out. There's a little pocket. That will go facing your factory charge pipe. You're going to install it like this, where we're going to take the end of it, slide it right there, kind of in that hole, which will allow you to install it on there. Now we've got the bracket installed onto the actual valve. Okay, O-rings are on. We've got that adapter aiming down. Here we go. Installing them with the screws that Turbosmart provides. And this is using a 5mm Allen key. Make them nice and snug, but I'm doing this just to make sure that the actual O-rings stay in place and don't fall out. You do want to have a proper seal. There we go. There we go. So while we have the actual valve installed onto the factory piping here, I did leave these bolts loose to show you guys that you can actually change the location of the port on the valve where you want it to blow off. So you can actually turn the valve, let's say, to have the port blow off the air towards the front of the vehicle, up towards the hood, or towards the engine. And again, I am going to do it in the factory position where the connector is aiming forward and that port is aiming down. So now we're going to tighten it up. There we go. Blow-off valve is installed. Everything looks good. There's no gap in between the valve and the factory flange of the pipe. So the O-rings have seated properly. Now we're going to reinstall the factory connector onto the connector on the blow-off valve. This little nub right here is going to be aiming on the same side of the connector as that white safety pin right there. Clip it in, close that pin up, and now we're going to use some zip ties and zip tie it up to some factory wiring, keep it out of the way. And there you have it, guys. Pretty much like a 10-minute install with just some simple hand tools. We've got the blow-off valve on the Raptor. It's time to fire it up and get some psh, psh, psh sounds out of it. All right, you guys ready for this?
Yep.
Let's do it. All right, just messing with you guys. We'll do the actual blow-off valve now. Sounds good. I like. All right, so you want to take this thing for a ride?
Yeah.
Let's do it. We're inside the Bronco in neutral with the Turbosmart blow-off valve installed. You guys get to hear how it sounds from inside.
It's not too loud.
No, definitely not. There's a lot of guys out there that comment on it and say, I don't want that annoying sound like all the time. It's really not very loud. It's noticeable, but it's not overly, you know, and it's not going off all the time either. So if you're doing like long trips on the road trips, whatever, 6, 7, 8 hours of driving, it's not going to be constant. It's really only when you're getting on the accelerator pedal hard and let off of it, or even in sport mode when it downshifts and does that rev match feature. Yeah, man, we got that sound from the Turbosmart blow valve. Woo! And there you have it, guys, the overview and installation of the Turbosmart blow valve for your Bronco Raptor. These are all available here at Lethal Performance. Remember, there are two different versions: the Plumb Back version, which is a recirculating valve that does not make that sound, as well as the 50/50 dual port version that does give you that sound. So if you like the video, please make sure to subscribe. If you have any questions, comment on here, and as always, feel free to reach out to us at 561-753-8105. Mustang King, Bronco King, and I'm out. Wow, look at that. Installed, and we're gonna shut that connector. Well, it's not shutting, so. Oh, it goes that way.